A couple of days ago, we celebrate the life and legacy of a important figure of the 20th century, especially in the middle part of the 20th century. And he goes by the name of Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. King. And I want to expound on what I see as a problem. But before I go there, also on the 17th of 2022, another birthday, the 100th birthday of the one Betty White. Tragically, she passed away on New Year's Eve at the age of 99, just as most of us in America was going to celebrate her centennial. But she passed on before that date. It's sad that when somebody that dies at 99 and you wish, and I'm trying to paraphrase what somebody said. I saw this on a meme, and I hope that what I said is respectful. When somebody turns 99 and that person passes away, and you're saying this person got more to live, then I got to say, therefore you have lived a good life. Because people still have love and admiration for the Miss Betty White. Now, before I continue, let me read what she did in 1954. This was concerning. I put the links in the chat room, the comment section, where in 1954 Betty White was criticized after having Arthur Duncan, a black tap dancer, on her show. White said, "Sorry, live with it." She gave Duncan even more airtime. Her show was canceled soon after. With Betty White's passing at age 99, this internet meme about White refusing to ban Arthur Duncan, an African-American dancer, from the cast of her television variety show in 1954 is getting wide circulation. Of course, the social media world is full of distortions and fabrications. But this story is true. In fact, amid the countless remembrances of White published upon her death, the Washington Post includes a deeper look into that 1954 episode as reported by Gillian Blackwell. White made a career playing sweet characters with hidden and hilarious grit. And that quality goes all the way back to her first televised variety show, whereas the host and producer, she defied racist demands to get rid of Duncan because he was black. Her response, live with it. And all through the South, there was the whole ruckus. White, remember in a 2018 documentary about her life, they were all going to take our show off the air if we didn't get rid of Arthur because he was black. The people in the South resented me being on the show, and they wanted me thrown out. Duncan agreed. But there was never a question at all. As well as Brackwell's notes, and this was notorious time for civil rights. This was in 1954. As in the year, the Supreme Court handed down Brown versus Board of Education decision banning segregated schools. As in before the Montgomery bus boycott, Little Rock 9, and the Greensboro lunch counter sit-ins. By the mid-1950s, Betty White was already a pioneer, a woman getting featured roles in an emerging medium, including a variety show bearing her name. But this was long before she was Betty White, a beloved figure to many generations. As a relatively young female host and producer in what was very much a white man's world in terms of power and control, she had a lot to lose by resisting pressures to satisfy a large, if not abnormal, demographic. And yet she was willing to sacrifice some of her hard-earned and hard-secured privilege to stand for inclusion. That's what moral courage is about in the everyday work setting. As I wrote some 6 years ago, there are many scenarios in which positive social change can occur in society, including in our workplaces. With virtually any of these responsibilities, chances of success will be increased when supporters of change are willing to sacrifice some of their privileges in order to advance a cause. By privilege, I refer to some advantage by virtue of wealth, democratic status, social standing, or popularity, or organizational rank, legal right, and our inherited trait. And when I said sacrificing privilege, I mean being counted in a way that could jeopardize some of that advantage. It may mean speaking up in a meeting, interviewing as a bystander, endorsing an unpopular led principal position, or otherwise doing or saying something that potentially puts one at odds with supporters, sponsors, and the in crowd. Betty White's eccentric traits, comic genius, and famous corpse are being rightly celebrated now. In addition, let's remember that she was willing to stand on principle, typically in the manner that was quick to point without being overly preachy. Among other things, she also supported women's rights in the LGBTQ community. And she passionately advocated for the well-being of animals. In a world where way too many privileged people are unaware to jeopardize even the smallest bits of their comfortable standing. For something bigger than themselves, Betty White modeled a different example of success. That's from the New York Place, Um, so let me segue to the memory of Martin Luther King. It has become a custom, or better yet, should I say, 2022 is the year where Martin Luther King's picture will no longer hang upside down. We have too many people in this space, which y'all call Black YouTube. And it's mainly about the two groups of individuals. The two groups that we call, one is called the pro-black, the Back to Africa, the neo-Garveys, the Garveyites, the those who believe in Pan-Africanism. You got those who is on one side of this equation. Then on the other side, you also have the Black Manosphere, who have both in the history of YouTube has desecrated, disrespected, and mock the memory of Martin Luther King. Many of them would try to sit there and use another leader of that time, that of Malcolm X, in the effort to shame older blacks, to shame black women. That's what the manosphere nut jobs will do on YouTube. And what is so interesting with this group is that they will sit there and tell you that black men don't have a voice. They will sit there and tell you that the manosphere is created to give black men a voice. And guess what they use their voice for? To disrespect to disrespect what was built before them. You see pictures of MLK's picture hanging upside down as an excuse to bash a gender within the black community or black society, to trash Christianity, black Christians, to demean those who has a moderate outlook in the world. And as they sit there and talk about the big speech, the big six speech by Malcolm X, using that against MLK, talking about how MLK slept with a white woman or was in love with a white woman. But they never tell you that Malcolm X went down to the South and made a speech and I'm trying to figure out what was the name of that speech. I'm doing this as a quiz. I'm giving you time to think. When Malcolm X made a speech called "The House Negro and the Field Negro," many of you Negroes will sit there and refuse to bring that up in conversations. Well, when MLK was in Selma, locked up, in the same church, Malcolm X showed up and made the speech. Well, Martin is locked up in support of Martin. But yet you so-called black manosphere, black conservatives refuse to point that out. But yet y'all put his picture upside down. And then one of you, I've seen this in the comment section, made this to a point that any black person, namely a black woman, who have MLK, RFK, and JFK on the wall, they are deemed enemy territory. But you said that black men don't have a voice. Why at the same time you going to condemn somebody, trash the legacy, for you to have the right to be on YouTube to say that trash filth? You are an embarrassment. All because a lot of you have problems, issues with Big Mama, with your mothers, with the women and girlfriends in your life. Let me move on to you pro-blacks. You back to Africans, you red ball, green ball, Marcus Garvey types. I see a lot of y'all making live streams mocking Monday as Integrationist Day. Calling it Integrationist Day. You are the same ones that sit there and misquote and misquote various black leaders. It doesn't matter if it's y'all's own heroes. A lot of y'all misquote Francis Quelch Wilson. Some of you will sit there and misquote John Henry Clark. Some of you will misquote Amos Wilson, while at the same time you make ridiculous remarks. See, the problem with you in the pro-black community is that y'all forgot something. Dr. King, and yes, Malcolm X too, has something what y'all don't have. And that is the concept of being articulate, having wisdom, and to speak with truth. But too many of you want to diminish that because some of you refuse to do your research. Y'all turn around and try to make it about, well, you know, y'all get mad when a white person will say white is right. But then y'all turn around and give validity to that statement when y'all say we're not slaves. No such thing as slave ships. No such thing as racism. Well, for some of you who said that. While at the same time, y'all even misquote Martin Luther King by misquoting the whole narrative of I integrated my people into a burning house. Let me to remind you this. If you're going to misquote somebody, make sure you actually do research on the quote, I'm afraid I integrate my people to the burning house. Well, let's put this into the context of what it really is about. Harry Belafonte speaks on his last conversation between himself and Dr. King. Midway through the civil rights movement, Dr. Martin Luther King realized that the struggle for integration will ultimately become the struggle for economic rights. I remember the last time we were together at my home, shortly before he was murdered. He seemed quite agitated and preoccupied. And I asked him what was the problem. And I'm quoting, I've come on to something that disturbs me deeply, he said. We have fought hard, long for immigration, as I believe we should have. And I know we will win. But I have come to believe we're integrating into a burning house. A lot of you in the pro-black, back to Africa, black separatist side in this chitlin circuit of YouTube, of social media, y'all like to misquote the entire quote. Y'all like to take a sentence out of a quote to justify your fear, to justify your hate, and yes, to justify your low self-esteem and your insecurity. You see, y'all try to find ways for other people to accept your insecurity and your low self-esteem, because you really can talk about how much you love your own people, but then though y'all spent no expense to call another black man or black woman coon. Y'all spared no expense to call another black person a bedwench, just because a person finds something appealing about somebody that's outside of your racial identity. But I digress. But when y'all misquote MLK, you also disrespect yourself as a man or a woman, a black man and a black woman. Why? Because y'all really do not learn what is putting things in a proper context. And you got these younger cats listening to your garbage. Oh yes, I said to your garbage, because you yourself is desecrating the memory and the legacy of Martin Luther King. Because your worldview is part of the problem. Your worldview, and this demonstrates what I want to say at the beginning. What we got demonstrates a titanic struggle. They represent cultural nationalism. People like myself favors a civic culture. Martin Luther King and, yes, indeed, the Honorable Malcolm Shabazz demonstrate a civic culture. A culture that seeks out a more stable and wise and prudent judgment on how to deal with the problem, no matter what it is. Whereas when it comes to cultural nationalism, where the mindset is based upon emotional outrage, and very nihilistic view of humanity. These two men face their demise, speaking up and fighting for the right for you to have the tools that you have today. I'm not talking about YouTube. No, I'm not talking about technology. I'm talking about the right that is granted by the Constitution of the United States. The right for peaceful assembly. The right to work and associate with those freely. And if any of you Negroes are so mad about what I just said in this video, then why are you on YouTube? You saying this is Integrationist Day? Then why are you on YouTube? Shouldn't you be on TruthTube? That's owned by a black man. That's a website for black content creators. Then there is Black Spot. That's a website for black content creators. And I'm sure, though, there are two other websites like YouTube that is black owned and black ran. But however, I do not see a pro-black, a red, black, and green. I do not see a Garveyite, a neo-Garveyite. I do not see any of these figures who talk about racial separation on those websites. And that's the greatest irony, and that's the greatest hypocrisy of it all. Shame of many of you on this space of YouTube. Shame on you. Because it shows that the real white supremacist is both these camps. The real white supremacist doesn't have a white face or blue eyes or blonde hair. It's just dark skin with a brown nose and dark eyes. And that's the truth.